I'm a normal person living a pretty regular life in a slightly boring city in Germany. I have a home that I share with my husband and our dog. I've had a corporate career, and this is what I learned from consistently meditating for 10 years. When I worked with people and taught meditation one to one, a lot of the feedback I got was that it's not possible to integrate a meditation practice in my life. These people were often busy working professionals. Whether they have children or not, people like that have so many things to do in a single day. Most people come to meditation with the idea that they have to sit for an hour, be perfectly still, and not allow thoughts to come up. Not only is that inaccurate, but it also sounds daunting. So daunting that most people never start because it feels like something they simply can't make time for. One of the most important things I learned about meditation very early on was not to bind myself to the concept of time. I need time to meditate, and if I don't have time, I will not meditate. This is an all or nothing approach and it isn't helpful. So I went back to the most basic concept of meditation, the breath. It all comes down to the breath. The breath is the bridge from the body to the mind and to consciousness. A single breath is a bridge. Even one single conscious breath is a bridge to consciousness. Just like that. A single breath. So, what did I start doing once I learned this? If I was working and felt overwhelmed, breath. If I was grocery shopping and it was noisy and I couldn't focus, breath. If I wanted to center myself after a difficult call, breath. If I opened the mail and found a letter I didn't like, which happens often in Germany, breath. If I felt dysregulated in any way, if I noticed myself overfunctioning, if I was in the kitchen cleaning up and suddenly felt irritated, breath. That's the beginning of a meditation practice. Not sitting for an hour, not forcing yourself to be still, just breath. Any moment when a feeling comes up that overwhelms you, irritates you, or feels painful, breath. That's it. A single conscious breath changes the way you would otherwise react when something disturbing pops up. A single conscious breath begins to rewire your body and your mind from feeling overwhelmed, feeling dysregulated, to becoming conscious just in that single second. You inhale, you exhale. That conscious breath becomes the foundation of something that eventually evolves into a meditation practice. And this doesn't only apply when disturbing thoughts come up, it also applies when you want to focus and to focus deeply. Want to focus? There's your breath. On a call, deep breath. Doing something creative, breath. You access creativity instantly through your breath. You access that quiet, still part of your consciousness. Because when you breathe, when you really breathe, in that moment, there's only the breath. There's no other thought. There's no other feeling. Just that sensation of the inhale and the sensation of the exhale. When you focus on this, even for one moment, everything else becomes distant noise. And in that one moment, you access something, the stillness, the total stillness, stillness of thought, stillness of reaction. There's no compulsion in the breath, there's no obligation, no pressure, no worry. There's nothing you have to do or must do or should do. There's just the breath and there's stillness. And what this does is it pulls you out of whatever thought pattern would otherwise take over. When I started doing this regularly, every single day, multiple times a day, it began to change things in subtle and profound ways. It helped settle my nervous system like a mini reset. It created inner distance from chaos. Not my circus, not my monkeys. It reduced my identification with constant thought, and often a single breath was enough to ground me. At first, meditation gave me relief from the constant onslaught of thoughts. And once you begin to experience the real benefits of being present with the breath, even for a single moment, you start to wonder, what would it feel like to sit for a little longer? So I did. I sat whenever I could manage, with music, without music, on the living room sofa, on the edge of my bed, in the changing room at my gym, in the car, on a bench, in the city, in a park. I sat for a few minutes while cooking, while working out, while meeting people. Sometimes I'd step away for a moment just to breathe, enter consciousness, and then return to whatever I was doing. And something starts happening in these moments of stillness because I carried this bridge with me into my daily life. My awareness sharpened. I began to see my own discomfort and misalignment. For example, at work, I could see that it was the wrong job for me. With friends, I could see different mindsets and different orientation. I started seeing unconscious relationships, ego driven systems, fear based reactions. I saw dysfunction clearly for what it was. My awareness became very acute. At this stage, meditation wasn't just offering me relief anymore, it was pointing toward something deeper, misalignment. And this is where discernment emerged. And this is an outcome of meditation that not many people talk about. Discernment between what's authentic, what's truly felt, and what's performative, discernment between what's embodied and what's rehearsed, between truth and self deception. And discernment is not judgment. Judgment needs to convince, but discernment means simply seeing. And through stillness, you can see beneath appearances without needing to argue with people. And there's another aspect you won't really hear. What happens when discernment sharpens? When discernment sharpens and you enter consciousness, life doesn't suddenly become more pleasant or easy. In some ways, it actually becomes harder. You begin to notice how much of human behavior is driven by unconsciousness, how much harms happens out of malice, sure, but also out of unawareness. You see it in relationships, in systems, in workplaces, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Working in mainstream environments, especially corporate ones, can become difficult because many of these systems are built on fear, performance, and avoidance rather than presence. And this clarity does make you feel lonely, and it can hurt more, especially in the beginning. But that's not a failure of meditation. It's a consequence of being able to see clearly, and that's its own kind of reward. I think one of the hardest things people struggle with in meditation is expectation. Expectation of something dramatic, ecstatic, and supernatural. But everyday consciousness isn't dramatic. It's actually quiet, ordinary, it's grounded. Presence doesn't feel like magic or escape. It feels like less reaction, less urgency to explain and do things, and less identification with drama. People often come to meditation for healing and transformation. And here's an important distinction: healing is not the same thing as meditation. Meditation doesn't heal you by making your pain disappear. Meditation creates the container in which your healing becomes possible. By connecting to the breath, you access presence, and even a moment of stillness is enough to separate identity from pain. For a moment, there is no pain, no worry, no story, and when you return to a non present state, you can now discern the difference between feeling pain and not feeling pain, and that discernment matters because you can now separate feeling pain from identifying with the pain. And this is the beginning of healing, and it's possible once stillness arrives. Stillness allows integration of the hurt parts of ourselves into conscious awareness. Regular meditation builds a container you can rest in, a space where you can observe, where you can discern, and that allows you to sit with pain when it arises without getting lost in it. The stillness you learn to access can be used in many ways. You can use it to heal, you can use it to integrate, or you can simply use it to be present, resting in that no pain, no worry state. Over time, meditation teaches you how to hold space for yourself. That means staying with difficult feelings when they arise, or staying with simple presence, or consciously opening to a transcendent experience if and when that feels right. You don't have to experience everything. You choose the experience you want. And for me, after 10 years, that's how meditation has carried me forward in life. I meet life without collapsing. I've designed a life that's right for me, and I'm constantly redesigning it. I'm no longer my harshest critic. I'm kind to myself. I can experience transcendent states, but I'm also happy with the stillness because being present grounds me.